Hey everyone, Brendan Snyder here. How are you? Thanks so much for joining me and welcome to a Bruce Springsteen ranking of the lost albums. Bruce, as you may or may not know, has 21 studio albums to his name during his 53-year career, at least professionally, having released his first album in 1972. But that's not really the whole story. Most people know that Bruce is really prolific, writes a lot of songs, upwards of sometimes 70, 80, 90, or 100 songs have even been rumored to have been written for some of the albums. And so obviously those are not all used at the time. Case in point, when he did Darkness on the Edge of Town in 78, it would later lead to The Promise. And when he did The River, and then later on in 2015, we got an album worth of outtakes from that. And then, we had Tracks 1, Volume 1, because now we got Tracks 2, but Tracks 1 came out in 98. This is 4 CDs worth of unreleased material. And in 2003, he released The Essential, but this has a 3rd disc in it of archival material. And the big thing is that what just got released on June 27th, Tracks 2, The Lost Albums, which has 7 complete, fully realized albums, lost albums in it. And of course, that's what we're talking about here today. So the 7 albums out of Tracks 2, and we're adding into it The Promise. And so together with all of that, I'm going to rank those 8 lost albums. So come along for that. We'll do it here in just a bit. But if you are new to my channel, don't forget to comment, like, subscribe. All those things do help my channel. And of course, if you turn on notifications, you'll never miss an episode and stay up to date on really cool things like this, where I'm doing a Bruce Springsteen ranking of the lost albums. I mean, for somebody who's already got 21 studio albums and you add these 8, that means there's 29, but there's tons of other stuff in there as well that he's done. So this guy's got a ton of stuff under his belt. But there you go. That's what we're going to be doing here. And so we've got 8 of these to go through. I've got a lot of stuff around me here to reference. I'm going to try to keep it all together and organized. And we're going to kick off with number 8, Faithless, which was earmarked for 2005. At least that's when it was started. There was a 2004 movie that he was going to write the music for, and he did. And then the movie has never happened. It's just been in development hell, as they say. So this essentially is a soundtrack. And this one here is recorded between 2005's Devils and Dust and We Shall Overcome, the Pete Seeger sessions from 2006. So that's at least the time frame of this. Now, with the time frame of a lot of these things, you'll find out that this doesn't sound like those. And there's a lot of albums in here that, even though they might have even been recorded at the same sessions, they don't sound like the album that they were recorded in and around or between. And I find that to be really fascinating from Bruce Springsteen. But this one here, coming out now 21 years on from it. It's very atmospheric. It's what you'd expect from a soundtrack. It's a lot of the music is meant to be background. In fact, there's 4 instrumentals on here, but it's very mellow. It just is one that has not clicked with me out of all the albums from the box set. And of course, that, thinking about Promise, but all of those, I've given them lots of listens now. In fact, for those of you that think this is like a, how could you possibly be doing this with it, only being a week or 2 after the release, all the music, the 83 tracks total on this only add up to a little over 5 hours worth of music. So it's totally doable to give all of this multiple listens. And I just got on a Bruce Springsteen kick and was totally able to do it. So no big deal. But this one here has not clicked with me. I don't know how often I would go back to it. So at least that's why it is coming in as number 8. All right, this next one is one that I had really high hopes for when I found out what it was related to, and that is album number 7, Inyo, recorded between 1996, 1997, featuring 10 tracks on it, and I want to say it might even really be thought of as part of 1995, because the albums that it's related to, Goes to Tom Joad, it was actually recorded as a companion to it, but recorded between the albums of Goes to Tom Joad and The Rising. Again, trying to give you a time frame to think about. But A lot of acoustic compositions on this one, but it's mixed in with what I call Mexican musical flair, like a mariachi band and horns and different acoustical instruments that they use predominantly. Not really my cup of tea. I very, very much like Ghost of Tom Joad. So when I heard there was a companion album that was meant to follow up Ghost of Tom Joad, Inyo, I got very, very excited. And the start of the album does work much like Ghost of Tom Joad, but then as you kind of get into it a little bit more, it really veers off into the whole Mexican musical theme. And it's a lot, like the whole Devils and Dust style sound. So you've got, Nebraska, Ghost of Tom Joad, Devils and Dust. And reason I also mention that is that the writing sessions for this would actually spawn 4 songs that would go on to Devils and Dust. They don't appear on here. But it would be interesting had they appeared on here because I like Devils and Dust so much. So, out of all of these, I still think Ghost of Tom Joad and Devils and Dust are far superior to this one here. Had we been doing a full album ranking, which somewhere down the road I will do all 29, and at that time what I'm waiting for is a brand new Bruce Springsteen album. I will rank all 30 albums of Bruce Springsteen at that time. But for now, we're just doing the lost ones. So the song The Hitter, Reno, Black Cowboys, and Matamoros Banks were written during the sessions of Inyo, but don't appear on here, later appearing on Devils and Dust. Certainly, though, companion album, and it is fun to listen to both of the Ghost of Tom Joad and this together. But like I said, it veers off a little bit, doesn't really hold my interest, and it's in a musical style part of the time that is not really my cup of tea. So again, that's why it's coming in at number 7. Okay, next we've got number 6, Somewhere North of Nashville. 1995 is the era of this album, featuring 12 songs on here. Now, this one here is recorded between an album I'm going to talk about later, which is this one here, Streets of Philadelphia Sessions, 1994. Now, unreleased up until this box set, but between this one and Ghost of Tom Joad is where this one fits in. And it really, really is a companion to this one, because while they were in the studio recording Ghost of Tom Joad, and this is a very dark album if you know it well, this one here is a much livelier, upbeat. It's a mix of country and rockabilly, and it's definitely on the rockin' side of things as opposed to the twangy side of country. Sort of what I would, 1950s rock style songs. But this was recorded in the afternoons at the sessions for this album. So again, when I heard how related it was, it got me very excited because I wanted another Ghost of Tom Joad, which in my opinion, that's exactly what Devils and Dust is. So I do have it. But this one here, very, very different than Ghost of Tom Joad. It's a night and day, opposite style album. And it didn't originally click with me, but it is one of those ones that has continued to grow with every listen. And while rockabilly not really my cup of tea, this here, like I said, is more like 1950s rock and roll. And I can get on board with it as just a really cool, upbeat, rockin' album from a lot of the friends, really, of Bruce Springsteen. Just invited them in to have a good time to record this. And it's that fun energy that registers through on it. And at least that part of it is why this is coming in at number 6. Okay, we move on to number 5, The Promise from 2010, double album featuring 22 tracks. So yes, even though the album itself says 21 on it, there is a 22nd track. It's just a hidden track. It's called The Way. It's the last track on the second disc. And if you've fallen asleep before the end or turned it off, there's one more track on there for you to check out. But this one here recorded during, if I can find it now, it's got to be in front of me somewhere. Said I wasn't going to misplace any of these, but of course I did. Darkness on the Edge of Town, 1978. These sessions produced a ridiculous number of songs. To have that standalone album and then have 22 other tracks over here on this. And this wasn't actually finished off until 2010. He did additional instrumentation and overdubs to complete the album. So it's not just a bunch of demos. It is a fully completed album, which is why I'm presenting it to you as a lost album, because Darkness could have been a double album. This could have been gathered up at any time. It just sat in the vault, and finally Bruce finished it off and released it as The Promise. So lost tracks from that era. This has an alternate version of Racing in the Street. It's also got Bruce's version of Because the Night, the song that Patti Smith would make famous. And it's got his version of the song Fire, which the Pointer Sisters would make famous. But it's all the other original songs that are on this thing. I mean, Because the Night and the Fire are also original, but I just mean ones we haven't heard by other artists. So those on here are the real standout tracks of this that make it fun and enjoyable. But for me, this is a very mellow album. It doesn't really rock enough, and for it to be a double album of that, it's a bit too much. It really kind of drags on. When Bruce edited down all that he had written, if you think about all of this together, and there's a ton more stuff out there as well, this is really the right selection of tracks. It's got great peaks and valleys on it, and it just grabs you, holds on to you all the way through. Unfortunately for me, this does not. But then again, I haven't lived with this one as long as Darkness on the Edge of Town, and you never know how this one might move up over time. But at least right now, just didn't quite rock enough for me, and therefore, that's why this is coming in at number 5. Okay. Coming in at number 4 is Twilight Hours, which was recorded between 2010 and 2018, so a very long stretch of time. We got 12 tracks on this, and it's recorded between the Working on a Dream album from 2009 and Western Stars of 2019. And at one point in time, Western Stars was going to be a double album that would have included Twilight Hours, or these tracks at least, with it, ultimately deciding not to and releasing Western Stars. And this one's sitting in the vault. So really interesting how this album that started, 8 years beforehand, ultimately sits on the shelf the whole time and has bypassed an album that grew out of sessions for this. But, sometimes they always say, too, that, the newest things that you write or record at that time are your baby. It's your freshest. It's the stuff you're most excited about, and stuff that he did years earlier maybe just, wasn't holding up at that point. But I have to say, in the end of the day, this one here, when I heard that this was a mix of, like, country and 70s pop in the style of Glenn Campbell, Burt Bacharach, Jimmy Webb, I immediately was turned off. And when I heard the first song on here, not the title track, this one here was a Sunday Love that they released as a single for this. I enjoyed it, but just really thought I was not going to be interested in it because it's really country and orchestra. There's just kind of that sound behind everything on here. But this is one of those albums that after I let go all of my built up thoughts about what it should have been and just listen to for what it is, I have really begun to like this album, which is why it's ranking at number 4 for me, because this thing has just grown and grown and grown. And even though it's not a style, I mean, I am not a fan of artists like Jimmy Webb, Burt Bacharach, Glenn Campbell, or anything of that style. I would not be caught dead listening to that. That's just me. This has totally changed my opinion on it. Who knows, maybe I'll search out those other artists now. But I have to say that this album here turned out to be really good. One of the absolute best songs on here, Sunliner, is a great track, and it kicks off a 4-song suite that closes the album. So you get a whole little romantic love story on here about that. And the album itself is all about love. In fact, at one point, Bruce Springsteen thought he might release this on Valentine's Day as just an album about love and loss. But great album, definitely worth it. I hope that eventually all these albums get individual releases so that if you just want to pick up 1 or 2 of these things here, you're going to be able to do it after having heard this album ranking. I myself, as you know, have picked up the mega box set itself, and I am so glad that I did. There isn't anything from this box that I'm bummed with or whatever. Some of it, not fully my cup of tea, but all really, really interesting stuff. All right, so we're up to the top three here. This one here was the album one that you start with in the box set, and my mind was immediately blown from hearing this. Talking about album number three, LA Garage Sessions 1983. So 18 tracks, and this is recorded between Nebraska and Born in the USA, and it straddles right between it. If you ever kind of wondered, how did he go from the acoustic 4-track demo style album Lo-Fi of this to the big studio production, full-on rockin' of Born in the USA? Well, this is the album that does it. So this is what he recorded between that. He wasn't yet sure whether he wanted to fully move beyond Nebraska, but he did want to do more of a full band thing. So he began recording all the stuff in a bigger setup studio. I don't remember if it was just an 8-track or anything bigger, but this was at a home that he bought or rented, and did it in the garage apartment, or the apartment above the garage, which is what you're seeing right there. Right? So that's where it gets its name, the LA Garage Sessions. And ultimately, these sessions would lead to Born in the USA. In fact, on here, we get a version of My Hometown, which would later appear on there, a B-side that would turn up, Johnny Bye Bye, and another B-side, in fact, Shout Out the Light, and then County Fair, which didn't turn up until here on Essentials, the bonus disc over here in 2003, but that's over here as well. And just listening to this just put a huge smile on my face. In my opinion, the stuff that's on here is as good as Born in the USA. Yes, that has all the mega hits that we know now, but I think had this come out, it would have been equally as successful. It's just a great, upbeat, mid-tempo rock album that's got lo-fi quality of Nebraska with better studio production like Born in the USA, and has him moving between the two. And it's perfect. You can listen to all three back to back, and it tells a great story. But I absolutely love this one, from the opening track of Follow That Dream to the song on here, Fugitive's Dream, which is really good, the best track on here in my opinion. And another great one, Unsatisfied Heart. All fantastic songs and worth checking out for that album. Okay, next up is number 2, Perfect World. Now this one here is an interesting one, and it's the outlier to the lost albums because it was not recorded all in one or from a particular session or grouping of tracks. This is made up of songs that span 1994 to 2011. So like some of his other albums that he's done, Wrecking Ball in 2012 and High Hopes in 2014, which were made up of different songs from different periods of time, dusted off and finished off where he finally feels like they fit the theme of an album, the story he wants to tell. It's the right time to put it out. I mean, again, Bruce often does multiple recordings of songs where he's trying to find the right version to put out. And so this was one of those ones where he would put aside a song and say, that's going to be for one of those albums that I will collect together at some point. And finally, for this box set, he decided to do it. It's the 7th album in the Tracks 2 box set, where he said he wanted to end the box set on a more rock, upbeat, fun style album. And that's exactly what you get here, a rock and fun style album. And so this one here, I would say, is actually like a brand new album because, again, dusted off, completed, and finished. And it's like those other 2 albums, whereas the other ones are definitely period oriented, and you hear that. But this one here, he could have dropped all on its own, and it could have been the brand new Bruce Springsteen album. And that's how I see it. And so this one here almost came in at the number 1 spot because it's basically the brand new album that doesn't feel like it's from a period. It actually feels like it's present day. And that's part of the fun of this thing. But there's one more in the box set that stole the thunder from this one here. Still, this is a great album. I'm Not Sleeping, the opening track on here, really good. You know, he put out an album called Lost and Found, a selections of from Tracks 2. But I often feel that Bruce really left off the best tracks. So for like this album here, the songs I would have picked to have gone on that compilation, Idiot's Delight, which is track 2. Track 4, The Great Depression, really, really good. and the third from the end, Cutting Knife. All three of those not on the compilation, and yet I think those are the three best songs on here. The other three that made the compilation, fantastic too. This one, great, worth the price of admission to that box set. All right, now, this might be a bit controversial. It probably has to do with my age. It probably has to do with me getting into Bruce Springsteen when I did in the 90s. Yes, I grew up with him in the 80s, but first albums I was buying in the 90s. But this album is the #1 album. And as I said, I went back and forth between the last one that we just talked about, Perfect World, and this one here, Streets of Philadelphia Sessions, which was recorded in 1994. And this album here was the only album in the box that was actually fully completed, mixed, mastered at the time, set for release, and then shelved. And nothing happened with it. And so this one here, when it was recorded, it's recorded between the albums, the double album of Human Touch, Lucky Town, and then ultimately he shelved Streets of Philadelphia to work on the greatest hits, which we know have 4 new studio songs with the E Street Band. And one of the songs from Streets of Philadelphia Sessions, Secret Garden, would turn up on Greatest Hits. And we know that's a hit. That was a hit at the time off of Greatest Hits. It was later a hit again when it was included in the Jerry Maguire film. We know the song itself, Streets of Philadelphia, won Bruce an Oscar. So that was a hit in and of itself, that too appearing on the Greatest Hits. So I always really liked those two songs, so I knew I was going to like this. What's interesting is this one here does not have the song Streets of Philadelphia on here because it was recorded after it. But he wanted to make a whole album in that style, and that's exactly what this is. So again, if you like that song, and if you like Secret Garden, this is an album which really does sound like 10 songs of all that great style stuff. And what it is, it's Bruce exploring rhythmic sounds, drum loops. It was the style of music at the time. Hip hop was popular, dance music, so all of those rhythmic beats and everything. But this is Bruce doing it. This is not a hip hop artist doing it, so don't get worried about it. But it's just very interesting, and it will rip you right back to the 1990s listening to this. And that was why I was a little bit on the fence of it, because it's very much a period album. This one here feels timeless. All the albums in here feel of a period except this one. But I have to say, the one that made me smile the most, the one I've listened to the most, the one that I was most anticipating, that held up all the way through, the one that I think you have to buy the box set for, is this one, Streets of Philadelphia Sessions. This thing is so good. Blind Spot, which was released as a single, that does appear on the Lost and Found compilation album. Something in the Well, Waiting on the End of the World, those two as well. So all three of the ones that appear on the compilation are in fact some of the best tracks. And I like that the Lost and Found compilation album did not pull out any of the bigger known songs, like Secret Garden does not appear on there. The version of My Hometown from the '83 Garage Sessions does not appear on there. So any of those songs that did make it to these sort of things don't appear over there. And you really do get an album worth of selections of new unreleased songs that we've never heard before. I think out of the 83, 74 of them are completely unheard songs. The rest of them might have made it as a B-side or a cover by somebody else, like Tiger Rose off of Somewhere North of Nashville was done by a blues artist at the time, right? So things like that. But all in all, back to this album here, because it is really such a great album. It is the thing that connects between 1992 to 1995. And now that you've seen all of these albums, it really tells us a big period of what Bruce was doing from around a decade worth of time, from around 94 to 2004, 2005, in and of that time frame. And I think that these 8 lost albums that I've covered and ranked for you guys really gives you the more complete picture of the artist Bruce Springsteen, along with those 21 studio albums that he's chosen to release to tell his original story has now been fleshed out that much more. And there you go, my Bruce Springsteen ranking of the lost albums. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it was informative. Remember, all this stuff is available to stream. So even if you don't want to buy the mega Tracks 2 box set, which I still think is fully worth it, you can listen to all of these albums and get a feel for what it is that I'm talking about. But if you know these 8 albums, which of these is your number one? Which one do you think is absolutely worth it for any Bruce Springsteen fan to hear and have in their collection? For me, I've got to go with this one. Streets of Philadelphia Session from 1994. I think it is an absolute must, and it is absolutely one of the pinnacle albums of his career. I do think it is that good. All right, everyone. Take care. Have a good one, and I'll talk to you real soon.